I like to save my own tomato seeds. I'll select a ripe fruit from my most promising looking bush, and I'll squeeze the pulp into a jar that contains a little bit of water at the bottom. I then let this ferment for 3 days, maybe 4 days, and you might find a mould grows on it. But anyway, the idea is to break up the pulp. And after the 4 days, I will tip the pulp into a sieve and run it under a tap and swirl it around with my finger, pressing it around, and separate the pulp from the seeds. The seeds should remain behind in the sieve. I then tip the seeds onto a dry paper towel and spread it out and leave it to dry for as long as it takes, but generally a week or two. I then tip the seed into some little paper bags that I fold up myself, and I like to sprout the seeds in a wet paper towel. So I get a paper towel and I clearly write on it with a graphite pencil, because graphite doesn't wash away so easily, and I fold it into 4, and this is what it looks like folded into 4. I'll then open it up so 2 folds are apparent, if you know what I mean, and I'll wet the paper toweling and then spread the seed out on the wet paper toweling and then fold it over again, just like I'm closing a book, and the seeds are enclosed inside this wet paper. I then put the wet paper toweling into a plastic bag, but I don't seal the bag. I like to let it breathe. And I leave the bag in a warm place indoors, typically on top of my fridge, but anywhere reasonably warm's okay. And your sprouting should start within a short time, maybe 3 or 4 days. And you wouldn't want to let the sprouts get much longer than you can see here in this picture. I then pick the little sprouts up and I poke a hole into potting mix, and I lower them carefully into the potting mix and then cover them with a tiny little bit of soil. They're not buried deep at all, and the system really works. All the seeds here were planted on the same day. The ones in the tray were planted directly into the soil, but all the bigger ones in pots were first sprouted inside the wet paper toweling and then transferred to pots. So it made a big difference. So I plant in September, the beginning of September here in the Southern Hemisphere, and in 111 days I can have an early variety like a Stupichka ready to eat. So it's just before Christmas. So the system works well and I like it, and I hope maybe it'll help somebody else too.